Bruin fans, fall is finally here. That means UCLA football is back in your life. Head out to the Rose Bowl to enjoy America's best tailgating and to make more unforgettable memories with the Bruins. Nico Iamaleava and the Bruins are ready to make an impact this year, and we need you cheering them at the Rose Bowl. Visit UCLABruins.com or call 310-UCLA-WIN to lock in your tickets today. 310-UCLA-WIN.
Good afternoon. We're getting right down to business here. We're doing it live, doing more at 4 weekday afternoons, right after Guy Benson at 3, and just before the 790 KBC News Blitz with Randy Wang at 5. Mottek On Money, the voice of business. News in Los Angeles, live on the air here, 790 KBC, streaming live online worldwide at kbc.com, and you're on demand, Mottek On Money podcast, kbc.com. Apple, iTunes, YouTube, all your favorite podcast platforms. And stay with us at 6 o'clock this evening for the Just Help One radio show and podcast presented by the Union Rescue Mission. Well, it was a record-shattering day for stocks today with the S&P 500 achieving an all-time high. The S&P 500 moved up 54 points to settle at 6,502. The Dow popped 350 at 45,621. And the NASDAQ gained 210 points at 21,708. This as tech stocks came back to life. Stocks moving higher as investors await the big jobs report. We call it the big enchilada, the monthly economic reports. It'll be coming out an hour ahead of the opening bell first thing tomorrow morning. Also, a lot of talk about Federal Reserve independence these days as a Senate hearing to confirm Stephen Mirren occurred. We're watching those developments very closely. The yield on the 10-year note has been pretty tame. In fact, mortgage rates, here's a ray of sunshine for real estate, hitting the lowest we've seen in a while since last October. Latest reading on jobs came out today. Private sector job growth slowed dramatically in the month of August. Private payrolls grew by 54,000. According to the ADP survey, that came in less than most analysts had expected. We also got the report from the Institute for Supply Management showing economic activity in the services sector rising a bit more than expected, but it did find sluggish hiring in the sector. All of this ahead of the big enchilada tomorrow, the jobs report. That'll be coming out for the month of August. Looks like it's going to be a critical report and will be critical on whether the Fed will lower rates at their meeting coming up in just a couple of weeks. Traders, by the way, pricing in now a 97% chance of a rate cut as of last report. We will be getting the report first thing tomorrow morning. President Trump's campaign to recast the Fed, meanwhile, is ongoing with a Senate hearing to confirm his pick, Stephen Mirren, for governor at the Fed. Mirren facing questions over Fed independence. And according to various reports, the view was that he opened himself up to more scrutiny when he said he would not resign from his current post at the White House if confirmed to the Fed board. We did see American Eagle shares soaring today after the apparel retailer that's become famous these days predicted a sales boost thanks to ads featuring not only actress Sydney Sweeney, but also NFL player Travis Kelce, who recently got engaged to the one and only Taylor Swift. The price of gold hitting record highs this week, and the latest assessment from Goldman Sachs says gold could rally to almost $5,000 an ounce if the Fed's independence were damaged and investors shifted just a small portion of holdings from treasuries into gold bullion. We see gold at the moment hovering just below $3,600 an ounce. Silver just above $41 an ounce. The cryptos, Bitcoin, has been bouncing around right now just shy of 111,000. ETH, as we call it, Ethereum, just above 4,300. Business and civic leaders gathered in downtown Los Angeles last night to discuss ways to promote business in the City of Angels in the face of ongoing challenges. I'll be joined later this hour by the tireless champion for business in the downtown L.A. area. NELLA McOSKER will be with us, president and CEO of the Central City Association of L.A., the premier advocacy organization focused on downtown L.A., representing hundreds of businesses, trade associations, and nonprofit groups in the Los Angeles area. NELLA McOSKER will be joining me live later this hour. A Hollywood legend since 1939. Want to take a guess? It's an iconic business here in Los Angeles, and it's known as a Hollywood legend. Of course, it's Pink's Hot Dogs, LA's iconic hot dog eatery owned by the famous Pink's family. I'll be joined later this hour by Richard Pink, owner of Pink's Hot Dogs, who's has a big heart for philanthropy, by the way, that extends to the Union Rescue Mission ahead of a big fundraising event coming up later this month, the Over the Edge event. We'll talk about that and We'll get right down to business, the business of hot dogs with Richard Pink coming up later this hour. But first on your money, the markets and the economy, crypto too. Joining us live now, John NAJARIAN. Dr. J, as he's known on the major financial networks, co-founder of Market Rebellion, and co-author of the book, It's Not an Option. He also has the laser eyes on too, watching the cryptos very, very carefully. John NAJARIAN, thank you very much for coming to the line here this afternoon.
Great to be on with you, Frank. Thank you very much, sir. It's pretty exciting just ahead of this jobs report, certainly.
Absolutely, and a record-shattering day for the broadly based S&P 500. The other major averages just shy of their all-time highs. Gold popping to record highs this week. Bitcoin coming off its recent high of above 124,000, right now at around 111. Give us your view of the world here at the moment.
Well, the markets, of course, are going back and forth. A lot has to do with the fact that the overall economy seems to be doing fairly well, but the job market, which we'll be focused on for tomorrow morning, has not been as robust. And in fact, we've had several readings in the past, I'd say 6 months, that suggest if the Fed really were data dependent, as they claim, they would have been cutting rates already. They have not. Even though, as you accurately state, there is a 97% chance that they're going to do it on the, I guess, the 16th or so of September. So just a couple weeks away, they're going to be making a cut on the second day of that 2-day Fed meeting. And that's according to the hundreds of billions, even trillions of dollars that are traded in the fixed income markets. So it's not just one person's opinion. It's what all of that collective money has been focused on. So I'd say we are going to see an interest rate cut in September. And for the time being, a lot of us are also going to be short-term focused on the final jobs report before they have that September 2-day meeting.
A lot of focus of attention on the moves in the bond market lately. The yield in the 10-year note is down to 4.16%. That's the one we talk about because it impacts fixed-rate mortgage rates, which have come down. Are you paying attention to these bond yields, and not only here in the U.S., but globally, which are getting a lot of attention, and what that might tell us about the future direction of short-term rates and the global economy?
I sure am. And the fact that we are now below 4.2%, as you said, 4.16, I believe is a good thing because this is everything from consumer debt, whether it's credit cards, mortgages, car payments, whatever, as well as governmental debt, because, of course, our bonds reflect the interest payment that the government must make. And while I understand Jay Powell really is focused on keeping the economy going at the same time as the full employment that they'd like to see, he has not really been true to his data-dependent statement that he and the other members of the Fed like to make. So I'm pretty sure we're going to see some pretty dramatic moves between now and that 2-day Fed meeting.
Very interesting. In all this, gold hitting record highs, Bitcoin coming off its recent record high, but still hovering in that range. What do you make of the moves in analog gold and digital gold?
Well, the analog gold makes a lot of sense, even though I don't really think Trump is so much threatening the independence of the Fed. He understands that unless there was some sort of a fraud or illegality committed, and I don't think there would be, by Jerome Powell, that he can't really remove him. Jerome, of course, Mr. Powell could leave of his own volition prior to the May date next year, 2026, when his term would expire. So he could do that. And the president is certainly jawboning him to try to get him to make such a move. But Lisa Cook, I think the fact that the president has gone after the appointee out of Michigan, I believe she was a professor at the Michigan State University, the fact that he's gone after her for some what appear to be fraudulent claims on her mortgage applications, plural. That is something that I don't view it as much as the independence of the Fed as I would view it, Frank, that we should see Jerome Powell perhaps putting her in the penalty box for a little bit until that investigation is concluded. I would think that that's something that he should do, but he hasn't. And for that reason, I guess President Trump has seized upon the opportunity to say, well, if you're not going to police your own house, I'll do it for you. So we'll see how that shakes out. But overall, to me, that doesn't say that he's disrupting the independence of the Fed.
On there live with John NAJARIAN. Dr. J's, he's known in the major financial networks, co-founder of Market Rebellion and co-author of the book It's Not an Option. A lot to talk about here. What about the price moves in the crypto space here and also the ancillary equities, and including the Trump brothers' new entree into onto Wall Street? American Bitcoin mining, that stock saw 110% pop yesterday, pulled back about 20% today. ABTC is the ticker symbol on this one. It closed down $1.63. I see here to 641. Made that big splash yesterday. What about this one?
Well, his sons have been very active in digital assets of all sorts. They've also been active in some of the prediction markets. Most notably, of course, two of the biggest, Polymarket and Clashy. So these guys are not strangers to either crypto or those prediction markets. One of them serves on, in fact, the board of Clashy, and is now trying to do a deal with Polymarket as well. Polymarket isn't really open to most of the United States unless you're coming in through a VPN, but you can nonetheless see what's going on Polymarket, where they make these prediction calls, and you can bet, if you will, on the outcome of various events, political and otherwise. But as far as the entree into digital assets, ever since the Trump coin itself came out in approximately January of this year, along with the Melania coin and others, they have been exceedingly active and pushing their father to be more and more crypto friendly. And to that extent, I think that's a good thing, because I'm really a fan of the digital assets themselves and not so much the central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, that the previous administration was throwing a lot of its weight behind. So the fact that this American Bitcoin Corp, or ABTC, has traded as actively as it has, certainly the volumes do speak volumes, if you'll pardon the pun, but it's been a pretty big jump for that stock just in the past 24 hours, and I wouldn't be surprised if there are more such jumps and or pullbacks for that particular stock, ABTC.
All right, Strategy and BitMine and Circle, those are some of the other ones that have been making a splash this year. Any thoughts about some of those crypto-related stocks?
Well, I do like Circle. I do think XRP is going to be more and more in the discussion as well. Of these secondary stocks, or at least some of the coins that in some cases have those DATs, those digital asset treasuries attached to them, I'm really a fan of Solana, and I think at its present level, at about $204, I think that one, that coin in particular, has room to move, mainly because of its utility. It's about the same market cap as BNB, Binance, and their coin, but obviously it's much more accessible to individuals because it's $204 versus $850, but they're both about $118 billion entities, and so many of these crypto assets have been gaining more and more support because of people like Tom Lee, the founder of Fundstrat, who has famously become the CEO of the firm you just mentioned a moment ago, Bitmine Immersion Corp, BMNR, and they hold over almost $6 billion worth of Ethereum at this point. And Ethereum is a $521 billion company right now. It trades about 36 billion a day. So I think there's a lot to be said for a lot of these cryptos, and Tether, XRP, and Solana would be ones that I would definitely keep my eye on. I know that you and I frequently speak about Doge as well, but it seems to be mired here at the 20 to 22 cent level for the last several weeks.
On your live with John NAJARIAN, any price targets on Bitcoin and ETH and some of the other ones you mentioned?
None of my price targets have really changed for that. Bitcoin, I thought it was good that it supported at about 106 or so, and now has bounced, as you say, to 111,618. Ethereum, 43.38 as we're speaking right now, and basically I think it's probably somewhere between 5,800 and 6,500 by year end. I know there are predictions that it could be a $7,000 or $8,000 token by year end. I don't think that'll be the case, but it certainly could be. Ethereum does have a lot of support these days, but again, I'm more in the camp of Solana because of the lack of friction when you trade or exchange that particular token, and the recent support that it's got from a lot of these digital asset treasury folks as well.
All right, something else has been getting attention lately. We talked to Steve Forbes about this 24 hours ago, so-called social capitalism with Intel getting a boost from the government. Looks like we're all shareholders of Intel here now. The stock is hovering just below $25 a share, and the reports that the government might be interested in investing into other companies, especially defense contractors and the big defense names, and maybe even nuclear. What are your thoughts about what's developing here, and you see anything on the horizon that might interest you?
Well, again, the fact that we had that so-called CHIP Act under the previous administration, and that we were going to put $20 billion to $30 billion into supporting companies to build chips in this country rather than just over in Taiwan with TSM, Taiwan Semiconductor. I think this is a more interesting way to go about it, quite frankly, because I can't really imagine. I mean, for instance, when we supported Goldman Sachs and others during the financial crisis with TARP, the Toxic Asset Relief Program, we got a stake in those companies for doing that. I think the same is true now and should be true if we're going to support the production of semiconductor chips in this country. I don't know why taxpayers wouldn't stand to benefit in the same way from throwing the billions of dollars that we threw into Goldman and JP Morgan and Citigroup and all that during the financial crisis. It's certainly not a crisis for the chip companies right now, and giving them, 20, 30, 40 billion dollars to build out facilities. I get the idea that it's a good thing for jobs and for our own security, but I think we should be paid back for that investment that we, the taxpayers, would be making, with the government, of course, writing those checks. So I support it. I think if we do the same with Lockheed Martin or Raytheon or General Dynamics or any of the military stocks where we're throwing hundreds of billions of dollars into those companies, I think the same would be fair and true for those situations.
Great job on that, and you brought back a flood of memories during the financial crisis days when we had that program TARP. I think there was HAMP, and I think we also had BARF. And when I said that to Treasury Secretary Paulson, he said, "That's what I did." He threw up over what happened in those days. So Secretary Paulson had quite a conversation about that back then. Well, John, wish we had more time. We'll have to stop there. Thank you very much for that thorough assessment as always. And again, congratulations on your book. It's Not an Option, the authoritative book on options with your brother Pete. John NAJARIAN, Dr. J, as he's known, in the major financial networks, co-founder of Market Rebellion. The book, It's Not an Option. John, thank you very much for joining us live here this afternoon.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening, Frank.
Thank you. Looking forward to doing it again soon here with John NAJARIAN, live on the air on 790 KABC.
Bruin fans, fall is finally here. That means UCLA football is back in your life. Head out to the Rose Bowl to enjoy America's best tailgating and to make more unforgettable memories with the Bruins. Nico Iamaleava and the Bruins are ready to make an impact this year, and we need you cheering them at the Rose Bowl. Visit UCLABruins.com or call 310-UCLA-WIN to lock in your tickets today. 310-UCLA-WIN.
Hi, I'm Joe Salciha, host of the Stacking Benjamin Show. Every week, we talk to experts about personal finance trends.
While we were talking, I had to jump on ChatGPT real quick.
ChatGPT said, cut up the cards.
It said, hey, knucklehead, weren't you just talking about investing in dollar cost averaging? Why don't you save a few bucks?
You never knew personal finance could be this fun.
If you're bored, don't start messing with your investment.
Get a hobby, man.
Get into photography.
Buy an airplane.
Guess what investment I made? The one that keeps on giving. Stacking Benjamins. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Mottek On Money continues, 790 KABC. Good afternoon. Winning day for stocks with the S&P 500 rallying to a record high close, up 54 points at the bell at 6502. The Dow popped 350 points, 45,621, and the NASDAQ up 210 at 21,708. All the major averages at or near record highs. The yield in the 10-year note is back down to 4.16%. This ahead of the big jobs report for the month of August. It'll be coming out first thing tomorrow morning. Gold hovering just below 3,600 after hitting a record high this week. Silver now at just above $41 an ounce. Platinum at $1,379. Crude oil futures at $63.29. Bitcoin right now about 1,000 at 110,800, and Ethereum at 4,320. Doge at 21 cents. And now the latest news on 790 KABC.
Bruin fans, fall is finally here. That means UCLA football is back in your life. Head out to the Rose Bowl to enjoy America's best tailgating and to make more unforgettable memories with the Bruins. Nico Iamaleava and the Bruins are ready to make an impact this year, and we need you cheering them at the Rose Bowl. Visit UCLABruins.com or call 310-UCLA-WIN to lock in your tickets today. 310-UCLA-WIN.
Everyone knows the legend of D.B. Cooper, but what if I told you there's an even better story out there? One with multiple aircraft hijackings, prison escapes, and so many twists and turns. I'm talking about the hit podcast, American Skyjacker, which is now an action-packed documentary coming to theaters and streaming this fall. Find out more at www.americanskyjacker.com and listen to our bonus episode of the podcast coming soon. American Skyjacker. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Mottek On Money continues here at 790 KABC. Good afternoon. Business and civic leaders gathered in downtown Los Angeles last night to discuss ways to promote and indeed celebrate business in Los Angeles in the face of ongoing challenges. Joining me now is the tireless champion for business in the downtown Los Angeles area, NELLA McOSKER, the president and CEO of the Central City Association of Los Angeles, marking its 100th anniversary, by the way, the premier advocacy organization focused on downtown L.A., representing hundreds of businesses, many of them small businesses, as well as trade associations and nonprofit groups in the downtown Los Angeles area. NELLA McOSKER, thank you very much for taking the call here this afternoon.
Thanks for having me, Frank.
You're doing an amazing job there, and it was a fantastic event with all the top folks there in one place. What was the buzz at the big event last night?
You know, the buzz, in part, is the ability to be together in that space all together. I think what we've experienced in downtown is a real loss of those moments and that energy, with too many having work-from-home policies, even government offices themselves not fully in person, which is what we constantly call for at CCA, because there's no replacement for that kind of energy, that kind of work, that kind of fun that can happen together, right? When you have the business public sector, civic leaders all together in the same space, you can solve lots of challenges and enjoy each other's company.
Absolutely. No substitute for a real social networking site, which was what was happening there last evening. What about the return to the office these days? We've been getting briefings on office space in downtown. It continues to be a relatively slow return to the office. Can you give us an update on what's happening with the office space and the return to the office there?
Yeah, we have a lot of companies who have made the commitment to return to office 5 days a week or 4 days a week, which makes a big difference. What we see also is that downtown is challenged by experiences of public safety, enough of the ecosystem of coffee shops and lunch spots that are open to attract and retain employees and tenants that we know, can make a big impact. And I do think it does matter to note that the government workers who used to fill, especially Bunker Hill and spaces in downtown due to their high concentration at the city and the county, are not fully back. And that's where we have to have both the private sector and the public sector really step up and make that commitment so that we sustain an ecosystem that has tremendous impact on the rest of the city and the rest of the region. Downtown's contribution to the tax base for the city is enormous. And so when we don't have that in-person buzz and presence in the form of sales tax and even, for visitation, like TOT revenue, there's a real loss. And so that's the kind of energy we're trying to bring back and make it a commitment to have the in-person office presence be a part of the solution.
And you're taking on all the big issues, and it looks like based on the turnout, you're getting a lot of support. Obviously, the business leaders, the civic leaders, as well as the police and the interim fire chief, all present. Looked like the police and business community together. What about on the issues of crime and homelessness? Can you give us an update on that front?
So I'm glad you recognized, right, that our partners in the fire department and the police department are tremendous. We know that there are shortages of officers for the LAPD, as well as many police departments across the country, really. And so our commitment is to really demonstrate that we support those law enforcement officers that help keep our city safe, our neighborhoods safe. There are certainly instances of safety or a perception of lack of safety in downtown that have to do with the homelessness crisis, and that requires a different solution. So for CCA, we think about traditional law enforcement investments as well as, mental health services and supports, and that's why we're proud to represent nonprofits and service providers who are doing that work either in Skid Row or really across the downtown region. Because someone's experience of safety in downtown might have to do more with actually someone who's experiencing a mental health crisis than it does a traditional, theft or other kind of petty crime. So what we have to do is really address that unhoused population in downtown, because it will have tremendous impact on people's desire to come back and frequent our streets and, be a part of this ecosystem.
Does it appear progress is being made on the homeless front? I mentioned I'm doing a lot with the Union Rescue Mission. In fact, we'll be doing the Just Help One radio show and podcast this evening at 6 o'clock with their new CEO, Mark Hood. Do you see progress being made on the homeless front there?
The numbers from this last homeless count were positive. We've shown a trajectory over the last couple of years of more people across Los Angeles being brought from the streets into housing. I do have to be a bit selfish in how I look at that challenge, though, and think about how many of them are from the downtown community. Downtown plays its fair share, or its part in housing people, and yet you look at the numbers and sort of analyze whether or not homelessness has decreased in downtown, I'm not sure that it's true. So that's one of the things that we're looking at right now and trying to figure out is as we find places for these folks to get the help and, resources they need, are we making sure in downtown that they come from, a population of people that are already there, bringing them from the streets of downtown into housing, because it's the single greatest, contributor or factor in many of our businesses' ability to operate and keep their doors open and sustain a regular, patronage is whether or not they can, provide a clean, safe, welcoming environment for their customers to come.
On the Live with NELLA McOSKER, the president and CEO of the Central City Association of Los Angeles. You've been very busy. You've been focusing on what's happening at the LA Convention Center. A lot of discussion about the expansion project there and the major events coming up. Any updates on what's happening at the Convention Center?
We've been at this for several years. We've known for a couple decades now that the Los Angeles Convention Center right in the heart of downtown needs to be upgraded and expanded. We have major conventions across the country or even the world who want to come to Los Angeles, but we literally cannot accommodate them in terms of size. So the project that's making its way through the city council, or the proposal, would be to expand the size and to be able to accommodate some of those bigger conventions. What's exciting is that when there's a major convention in town, I'm thinking of there was an anime convention recently. Downtown is buzzing, and the businesses surrounding really get a boon in their business and build programs and events that attract and delight the comers of that particular convention. So we're coming to a head here and really needing to make this commitment and get shovels in the ground on a timeline that will meet, finalizing before the Olympics in 2028.
NELLA McOSKER, thank you very much for that comprehensive update. I'm going to be pumping up the economy there downtown again tonight. I was there last night, heading back there this evening for an event, so doing my part, certainly. Thank you very much for that important update, and we'll keep an open line to you. NELLA McOSKER, President and CEO of the Central City Association of Los Angeles, live here on Mottek On Money on 790 KBC.
Hey, Bruin fans, want to go behind the scenes with your favorite teams and athletes? How about getting exclusive merch and opportunities to enter sweepstakes like sideline access at the Rose Bowl? Introducing Blue and Gold Society, UCLA Athletics fan membership program created to support Bruin student athletes. Members receive benefits like exclusive gear, videos featuring insider stories, and incredible experiences courtesy of UCLA Athletics. Sign up today at blueandgoldsociety.com.